All right, I got 3:05. So
Go for it.
out of the respect for time of people that got on early and on time, we'll get started. So I am Rhonda Reap Curiel. I'm the managing broker at Coldwell Banker Reap in Alexandria, and I currently serve as the Louisiana representative to the National Association of Realtors Broker Engagement Council. If you attended last year with us and got a bottle of wine, thank you for coming back and being with us. We did not do wine this time, but we have some great things planned for the year. And who knows, the last one of the year may be another cocktail hour with a special shipment delivered to those who sign up early. We'll work that out. As Amy and I met early in the year to plan this, we wanted to make sure we had opportunities to engage our brokers both virtually and in person. And this is the proposed dates. I think some of them are hard. You can go ahead and put them in ink in your calendar, not pencil. But this page will have all the information on the sessions and how to register. We're recording this session, so it'll be posted up under the March 23rd date. We'll tell you some more exciting things coming for the May 16th in-person meetings. And we are going to have an exit strategy class, which is one of the certified residential broker management classes offered through REBI. That'll give you some information. And right now, I want to let our 2022 President, Eloise Gauthier, welcome everybody and say a few words.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. I'm looking forward to all this information also. And guys, I think this is a great year. Thank you, Rhonda and Amy, for everything you're doing for us. Keep us updated. So I'm not going to take much time because I know they have a lot of information, but thanks for joining us, guys.
All right, so we'll get today's session started with Cindy Rice Grissom. She is the president of Rice Insurance Services. And if you accept your E&O insurance through the state of Louisiana, she is your insurance person. She's going to talk to us a little bit about E&O insurance, why we need it, what it's important for. And to give you a little bit more of her background, she is a licensed insurance provider and adjuster in multiple states. She is our contract manager for the mandatory state E&O, and she works very closely with LRAC. And I'm going to turn it over to Cindy and let her get started.
Thank you, Rhonda. All right. Okay. I'm clicking. I'm moving right along. I just want to tell you a little bit about Rice Insurance Services Center. We administer the Louisiana Real Estate Commission Group Errors and Omissions Program. And also we provide the group programs in 14 of the 15 mandated states. Those are states that require real estate licensees to have E&O insurance. We have operated mandated errors and omissions programs for over 30 years. We partner with Continental Casualty Company, which is a CNA company, to provide the Louisiana program. And we've been doing that since 2003 with them. And mandated programs for real estate agents is all that we do. We're going to go through very briefly on some of these things because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to do understanding the basics of E&O insurance. What does the 2022 group policy insure? Some optional endorsements, and then talk about how it's a claims made and reported policy, and talk about the important dates you need to know. Also, we're going to go over a little bit about what to do if you have a claim that is made against you and what not to do. And then hopefully we'll have some time for some questions and answers. Real estate E&O is professional liability coverage that's available to real estate licensees to provide insurance for claims that arise from negligent acts, errors, and omissions in the professional services. So it provides benefits to insured licensees because it pays for your defense costs. As you all know, attorney's fees can grow up really quickly, even if there's not any liability. And that's probably the most valuable benefit of E&O insurance, is that it pays your legal fees in the event that there is a claim that is against you. Of course, it also provides damage coverages if you have been involved in a situation where you've made an honest mistake. It's going to pay the damages on your behalf. And of course, it's a benefit to the public because it provides payment of covered damages if the individual is harmed by an negligent act, error, or omission that the real estate licensee has performed. Most licensees think that a claim will never happen to them. People tell me all the time, I've been in this business for a really long time. However, real estate agents get involved in claims all the time. We've had 24,291 real estate E&O claims reported just to our office since 2003, and 3,360 of those claims were for Louisiana licensees. We've paid out for our program with Continental Casualty Company has paid out $24.5 million for Louisiana licensees for claims since 2003. For the 2022 policy period, the annual premium for the group policy is only $129 plus $7 LREC fee. That gives $100,000 per claim, $300,000 annual aggregates for the damages. Now, keep in mind, you've got your defense costs that are in addition to the damages that are paid out for your policy. And there's a $1,000 deductible for claim damages, no deductible if you only have legal fees. Oh, there we go. And I went too fast. I started clicking too fast. Sorry, gang. Let's go back through here. I went way ahead somehow. Am I going forward? I'm going forward instead of backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is there a way to go back?
Yeah, you should be able to back arrow.
Sorry about that, gang. I'm not very good at Zoom, obviously. I thought when
Right.
I was clicking, I went to, okay.
Where are we, Cindy? Right.
Let's see, we should be right at the very beginning where it says, what does the group policy insure?
This one.
On page 7.
Okay.
So go forward one.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'll try not to click too fast. All right. It's not moving for me. There we go. Okay. All right. So what does the group policy insure? The policy insures claims that arise from an error, omission, or negligent act relating to the rendering of or failure to render professional services as a real estate salesperson or broker. It also provides claims involving the issuance of a broker price opinion or comparative market analysis, and any services performed or advice given as a notary public or real estate consultant or counselor in connection with your licensed activities. Let's talk about what it covers at no additional cost. These are some sublimits and supplementary payments that are included for the 2022 policy. There's environmental claim sublimits, there's escrow claim sublimits, there's lockbox claims, supplementary payments, and fair housing discrimination supplementary payments. These are things that normally wouldn't be covered under an E&O policy, but they do provide some limited coverages under the 2022 policy. There's also subpoena coverage. If you get a subpoena for documents or testimony, you need to send that in to us. We can hire an attorney to help you with that. Also, there is supplemental coverage security breach notification. If there are notification costs to notify your clients that there's been a security breach. There's also some optional endorsements that you can purchase. There's regulatory complaints coverage to help you to defend if you're named in a regulatory complaint. There's conformity endorsement if you need an E&O insurance in another state that's mandated. Appraisal endorsement if you have an appraiser's license. And then there's also, you can purchase increased limits of $250 per claim or $500 per claim. Or there's an endorsement for residential personal interest. Now on this one, it provides coverage up to policy limits for claims relating to sale or listing for sale of residential property that you, your spouse, or an entity that you have an ownership interest in. On this one, it's really important. You'll see here, there's a whole list of conditions in order for this to apply. So make sure if you're interested in this one that you read those conditions. There's also a developed constructed by spouse endorsement premium is $250 on that one. Again, there's conditions on there. So make sure you read those. I'm not going to go through those because we don't have a whole lot of time, but I just want you to know if you're interested in those particular endorsements, read the conditions. Your policy is a claims made and reported policy. Now, this is what I really want to talk to y'all about today. It's very important to understand how a claims made and reported policy works. And I'm going to go through some claims examples so you'll understand what it means, how to recognize a claim is made against you, understand the urgency of timely reporting, and understand the significance of maintaining continuous coverage with no breaks. There's 4 dates that you need to be aware of when you're looking at a claims made and reported policy. First date is the date the claim is made. Second is the policy's retroactive date. Third is the date of the professional services that give rise to the claim. And fourth is the date the insured reports the claim to the insurance company. Oop. Uh-oh, I'm going backwards again. Here. All right, so all right, we're going to go over some examples to see if you can get the right answers when I go over some of these examples. Hopefully I won't mess up going through these. Sorry about that. Okay. In our first example, Laura licensee receives an email on February 1st, 2022 from a seller that she represented in a transaction in 2020. The email alleges that Laura acted negligently in representing the seller in 2020 and demands damages from Laura. Laura contacts her insurance provider and reports the claim in writing. Now, when do y'all think this claim was made? Do you think the claim was made in 2022 when she received the email? Or was it made in 2020 when the professional services took place? Well, the claim was first made against Laura on February 1st, 2022. Since a claim is defined as a written demand for money or services received by the insured that seeks damages and alleges the negligent act, error, or omission in professional services, that means the claim was made when Laura received the email. Next, the professional services that were performed by Laura involved a sale that closed on April 1st, 2020. Do you think this claim will be reviewed under the policy that was in effect in 2020, or will it be reviewed under her 2022 policy? The answer is that since the claim was made on February 1st, 2020, her insurance coverage on that date would apply. So if Laura had a policy or an ERP in effect on February 1st, 2020, the coverage is going to be reviewed under the, 2022, the coverage is going to be reviewed under the 2022 policy. Now, if Laura did not have a policy or an ERP in effect in 2022, then no policy would be available to potentially provide coverage for the claim. That's even if she had insurance when she provided the professional services in 2020. So the 2022 policy is going to be important because if you had endorsements back in 2020 that you don't have in 2022, those endorsements aren't going to carry forward to when the claim was made. So you need to remember how the policies work. In our next example, Barry Broker worked in real estate from April 1st, 1998 to December 31st, 2021, during which time he maintained continuous E&O coverage. He retired in December 31st, 2021, and he placed his license inactive. His last policy that he had effective dates of January 1, 2021 to January 1, 2022. Now on August 1st, 2022, he's served with a lawsuit that's filed by a client that he worked with back in November in 21. We're going to look at a couple different situations. In our first scenario, Barry thought there was no reason to worry about continuing his E&O coverage because he's retiring. What do you think? Since Barry had continuous E&O coverage while he was licensed and he no longer has an active license, is he insured for this claim?
Nope.
Unfortunately, there's no insurance available to provide coverage for this claim. because it arose after Barry's last policy expired and he didn't have an extended reporting period in place. So if the policy is claims made, there has to be coverage in place at the time that the claim is made. Now, in our second scenario, instead of not worrying about continuing his E&O coverage, what if Barry purchased a 3-year extended reporting endorsement within 90 days of the expiration of his 2021 policy? Once he served with the lawsuit in August 2022, he timely reports it to his insurance provider. Now will the claim be eligible for coverage?
Yes.
In this scenario, the 3-year ERP endorsement extends his reporting period for claims from the 2021 policy to January 1, 2025. So this claim is going to be eligible because he's got a 3-year extended reporting period to report new claims that are made under that policy. Next, we're going to talk about a retroactive date. Everybody with E&O insurance needs to look and see what is your retroactive date. Under our group policies, the retroactive date is established separately for each insured licensee. Now, if you have a firm policy as opposed to the individual licensee policy like the group, then your retroactive date would typically be established for your firm. Under our group policies, the retroactive date is a date from which the licensee has continuously maintained uninterrupted E&O coverage. So let's look at this situation. If a licensee's coverage expired on January 1, 2022 while on family vacation, and he doesn't purchase insurance until January 2nd when he gets back in his office, do you think this will affect his retroactive date?
Yep.
There we go. If the licensee purchases coverage with a January 2 date, then there will be a break in coverage from January 1 until January 2. Any gap in coverage, which is a break between the end of one policy period and the beginning of the next, will terminate the previously established retroactive date, even if it's just 1 day late. Now, when this occurs, a new retroactive date will be the date that the licensee reestablishes coverage. This is why it's extremely important to renew your insurance timely to preserve your retroactive date for coverage for your prior acts and make sure that you're complying with the real estate licensing law in the mandated states. Next, we're going to talk about the date of the professional services. It's important to determine the date of the professional services since the claims made policy will only apply to a claim that involves professional services provided after the retroactive date. If a claim involves professional services that were provided before your policy retroactive date, then there will be no coverage for the claim. In our example, Lucy licensee obtained her real estate license on June 15th, 2018, at which time, something just happened here. Hang on a minute. Mine just says launch meeting here on my Zoom. Did I time out?
No, we have somebody that was,
Okay.
where Paul, somehow we got to
Okay.
Paul sharing his screen. Let me, all right. Let me go back. There we go. We should be back.
Okay. All right.
Weird things happening today.
I know.
How that happened.
Okay. So in this situation, she had a policy in effect when the claim is first made on April 2nd, 2022. So, am I gone the wrong one here?
There you go. Now you have control again.
Okay, sorry. All right, I think I just here. Okay. There we go. Okay. So in this situation, all right. So in our first scenario, Lucy has timely renewed her insurance every year and never had a gap between her policy services. Excuse me, I'm looking at professional services and saying the wrong words. She never had a gap. Every year she renewed timely. So if she had a claim that was made on April 2nd, in this situation, would she have coverage? Okay. In this example, Lucy's retroactive date would be June 15th, 2018, the date she first purchased and maintained her continuous coverage because she renewed timely every year. So her 2022 policy is going to apply to the professional services provided after her retroactive date of June 15th, including the 2018 services that were involved in the claim. Since the claim was made in April 2022 and it involved professional services that were after her retroactive date, this claim is going to be insured under her 2022 policy. But if she forgot to renew her insurance and she had a 1-month gap, then would she be insured? In this situation, she had a 1-month gap. She renewed February 1st. So that's her new retro date. So her policy is not going to apply to her professional services that were prior to her retroactive date, because she had a gap in coverage. It's so important for everyone to know to renew their insurance timely, preserve your retroactive date, or you can lose all your prior acts coverage for your professional services. And just so y'all know, if you do have a situation where you don't renew timely, you can always contact us because we can often fix that for you and backdate the policy because because of the group program and the importance of everyone maintaining continuous coverage for the program to work, we are allowed to do that. So, I mean, we can't do it, we can't do it just to everybody, but we have the authority to do it so long as we find out that they fill out a form that they don't have a claim, because there are people that will do that. They'll send in, we've had people that have sent in a backdate request with their claim. And sometimes even from people that haven't been insured with us before. So it doesn't work that way. Okay, let's talk about the report date because it's really important. The policy requires that claims must be reported immediately in writing to the E&O provider. So if you fail to report the claim, you might jeopardize your coverage. It has to also be reported in writing during the same policy period or the applicable extended reporting period in which the claim first arose for the policy to apply. Let's look at an example. There's a claim made against Laura licensee on December 2nd, 2021, during her policy with effective dates of January 1, 2021 to January 1, 2022. What if Laura doesn't report the claim because it was only an email until the claimant files a lawsuit on June 1st, 2022? Would there be coverage for this claim? The answer is that the claim would likely not qualify for coverage because the claim was actually first made in December 2021, and it has to be reported during the policy period when it first arose. She should report the claim made in December 2022 in writing to her insurance provider immediately. Many policies, including the group policy in Louisiana, say that the claim has to be reported no more than 90 days after first receiving the claim. If you fail to do that, you may jeopardize your coverage. So always check the reporting deadlines in your policy. Now, even if Laura was continually insured and she had a new policy with effective dates of January 1, 2022 to January 1, 2023, her new policy is not going to apply to the claim because the claim was first made in a policy period that was prior to her current policy, and it wasn't reported during the applicable policy term. There we go. Now, this is what we're going to talk a little bit about extended reporting. If you want to purchase an extended reporting period at the end of your policy period, you can buy a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year ERP. The premium for the optional extended reporting period is fully earned. So if you buy it and you say after 2 years you want to get your premium back, you can't do that. But you can buy a 1, 2, or 3-year, and it's based on your expiring premium, including your endorsement premium, in the calculation of how much it's going to cost. I do want to point out to some people, sometimes people contact us and they say, we think it's going to be less expensive to buy a firm policy for us instead of enrolling in the group policy, or the broker just decides they want to change to a firm policy. It's important to know the group policy is issued to the individual licensees. So it's going to insure the licensee and any real estate firm that the licensee represents for the firm's vicarious liability. So if there's a claim against the firm, the licensee's policy is going to protect the licensee and the firm. It's going to follow the individual licensee, regardless of if they switch firms. It's going to move to them provide coverage for the licensee and any firm that they work for when the claim comes up, okay? So if you have a firm policy, it typically insures the firm and the licensees that are affiliated with the firm, but it's only going to apply for the professional services performed on behalf of the insured firm. So, for example, if Larry licensee is affiliated with Current Realty, which has a firm policy, and there's a claim made against Larry for professional services prior to joining the firm, Current Realty's firm policy will not insure Larry for that claim. So if you're moving to a firm policy from an individual policy, any licensee who's previously been associated with another firm may want to purchase an extended reporting period endorsement to provide protection for any potential claims that may arise for professional services before they move their license to the new firm. So an ERP can be if you're retiring your license or if you're switching the type of coverage that you carry. Now let's talk about, what do you do when a claim is made? First thing you do is you report it in writing immediately to your insurance carrier. Cooperate with your provider and supply copies of any requested documents. Comply with your duties under the policy, because if you fail to do so, you may jeopardize coverage that might be available under your policy. What not to do when a claim is made. Don't ignore the claim. Most E&O policies require timely notice of the claim. Failure to timely report the claim can jeopardize your coverage. Do not admit liability. You might be unaware that you've got some available legal defenses. If you admit fault, you can prejudice the carrier's ability to defend. And this might violate the insured's duties and it can jeopardize your coverage. Also, don't try to settle the claim yourself. We know you work hard to help your clients and maintain a good reputation, but if you offer to do something like pay money or repair or replace an item, coverage might be jeopardized. So always be careful about that, because you don't want to do anything to jeopardize your coverage under the policy. And that's it. We hope this helps you understand how to work this. If anybody wants a copy of the material, I can share it with you in a PDF form and you can use it if you like. Always remember, we're not making any representations here about coverage, but if you have questions, I'm ready to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Cindy. So along with this recording, we will take a PDF of this presentation and hang it off of this broker page. But I know you mentioned that you can purchase coverage if you have an agent that's leaving the brokerage. What happens when a broker has an agent that they are sending their license back, and they want to make sure that their area is protected during the time that they were with them? Okay, so the broker can always buy an ERP for the person who's leaving if they want, but the brokers typically, if there's going to be a claim against the firm and the broker, typically, since each licensee has their own coverage, in a situation where the broker is not there, we typically can find coverage under the broker's policy to protect the broker and the firm for any liability, but the licensee who left is not going to have coverage to protect them. Does that make sense? Yep.
Would that apply even if they're under the group policy for the state? Say they were with one broker, they purchased through the state, the mandated E&O, and they went to a different broker, but the instance occurred with their first. We know the broker who was the sponsoring broker at the time is going to be covered through their brokerage E&O, and they probably have additional E&O.
Yeah. So
and that agent still has E&O. They've just changed firms.
So if the agent changes firms, it won't have any. It's the coverage under this policy, because it follows the licensee. It's issued to the licensee. It's portable. It goes with them wherever they work. So if you're concerned about, because we all know real estate licensees, they jump from broker to broker occasionally. That's just something that's typical in the industry. And so that's what's good about this type of coverage. It follows the licensee no matter who they're working for. It's going to cover the licensee and any real estate firm that they work for its vicarious liability for that licensee's acts.
All right, does anybody else have a question for Cindy? All right, well, thank you, Cindy. I know you gave some good examples and some good reasons why you should renew your license on time, because your insurance follows your license typically. And that kind of helps me transition to our real estate commissioner for this session, Rick Roberts, and he's going to tell us some exciting things that are going on at the commission, and he's going to update us on the forms we all started to use in January. So Rick, are you ready?
I am. Thanks, Rhonda. Appreciate it. Listen, I won't take too much time since Cindy hogged up most of the time we had here, and I see David Favre dozed off a few times, so I'll be kind of brief. Forms, we have a good sampling now. We're 2.5 months into using both the buy-sell agreement and the property disclosure. We have had some inquiries, comments, some consternation at the commission with regard to particularly the contract. I think a lot of it is because now we actually have licensees who've actually read some of the contract that they're giving their clients to write, which is always a good thing. And particularly on page 6, where we have expanded the responses for when buyer responds to seller, when seller responds to buyer, the 72-hour periods and how it applies. Like I talked about many times before, it used to be one big paragraph that you kind of have to sift through and read through. Now it's kind of enumerated. You can see there in a little better format, both for us and our clients to read and understand. Myself personally, probably in the first 2 weeks, I had 2 contracts that I received that didn't have a price on it. I thought that was kind of interesting, but it was only, I guess, due to formatting, and somehow it slipped through the cracks, and it was on page 2. And the other thing I tried to sell this new format on is page 2 is the 3 most important things we're looking for, which is the address, the price, and the active sale date. Page 1 is pretty much standard boilerplate, electronic endorsements and who the agents are. But page 2 is really the meat of the contract, at least where it starts. The other thing, it's a little bit of an education process, is the mineral rights section, which you see there on your screen. We did not have signature spots on the previous iterations. This one does, and that sometimes gets overlooked. I know not a big deal in our neck of the woods, but it's a statewide contract, of course, and those of you where mineral rights are important, that's why we have that there, and that kind of gets overlooked. But for the most part, unless you have some questions or comments or anything, I can tell you this: anything you like, I'll surely take credit for. Anything you don't like, please blame Linda Butler, and we can forward that to her. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward. When you get past the formatting of it, the only substantive changes we made in the response for the buyer in the DDI period, and I think we covered that ad nauseum. So again,
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat that Antonio was saying he notices a lot of people forget to put the date on the purchase agreement. So
okay, you mean on I'm assuming on each page the date, or the date for annotation?
I don't know. Antonio, you want to unmute?
Yeah, I'm here. So the at the top right, the date on the purchase agreement, they always seem to forget to like select the date that they're submitting the offer or writing the offer. That date right there, yeah. So I always send it back with an amendment, putting the actual purchase agreement date, so everything goes from that date.
Yeah, that's one of those formats. We had the date on there in that spot before, if I recall correctly. I don't know why it's being overlooked though, Antonio. That's kind of strange.
No, the prior purchase agreement, the date was underneath the brokerage information.
I see what you're saying. So now they're missing it because it's not in that same spot.
Yeah, and they forget to check it.
Again, it's a lot of formatting that we did on this one, unfortunately, and that's kind of a learning curve there. Again, substantively not changed much, but formatting it did, and I apologize for that. But we'll get it straight.
I think what's happening is when they're putting it into whatever the software they're using, it's automatically populating the address.
Right.
And so that's why they're forgetting that date up there.
And again, we're all using different software. Some of them automatically populates it, like you said. Other ones don't. You have to manually put it. And then once you do it, it auto populates on each page. It just depends. I know the fillable format we have, I think online, it has a spot for that where you toggle to it after you go from the address, it goes over to date automatically. But anyway, we're going to have some of those fit and finish problems with again, a lot of formatting on this form that we didn't have on the last one, and we changed a lot of that. So any other questions, though, surely let me know. Rhonda, you had something up there?
I don't know where that came from. It posted under me, but I have a sneaking suspicion Amy must have done this.
No, I think that might be Prissy.
Oh, yeah, she might have used my login. So she's saying the lead paint agency and dual agency forms are one page. It seems agents forget about signing on the second, or the second page is the signature page. I'm not sure what she means by that.
Okay, we'll have to get you people straightened out, Rhonda, okay? We'll have to come there in person and do that.
That's it.
Okay,
Please
fair enough.
do.
Fair enough. So, and again, the property disclosure page really, for the most part, unchanged with the exception of page 6, which really expands the flood information section, whether it's your seller receiving money from FEMA or, NFIP, road home, those sorts of things have all been expanded and really to protect both buyer and seller with the new 2.0 and with the ever-changing, deal with flood insurance, and of course obtain and maintain, which of course at LR we've promoted and sent that out quite a bit. We tried to make the property disclosure cover that as best we could. So hopefully that's getting across, and our licensees are able to convey that and get the sales to fill it out properly. But again, I don't think we've got many complaints or problems with the property disclosure. Surely, more disclosure is better than less. So that's kind of the way we looked upon it in the committee. Real quick, kind of piggyback, and Rhonda let us into it, and Cindy did as well. And I'm not going to get into great detail, but I can tell you this. First week or so in April, the commission is going to be physically mailing out to every licensee the new timelines and guidelines for renewal periods for 2022. They have changed. And just a little extra bonus to you, in the past, LREC doesn't mail out too many things too often. Now we're all going electronic. We dragged ourselves into the 21st century screaming and kicking, but we're here. So not often do we send out mail outs, but in the past, that was a good vehicle for compliance to make sure that everybody has their correct home address logged in with the LREC. So as a bonus to all of our managers out there to let their agents know, if they haven't gone on recently to the LREC.gov website to update their address if they move, now's a good opportunity to do it. So when they do mail those renewal notices out and the new information on how to do that, when they come back, return to sender, and the LREC gets it, compliance will have a good excuse to send you a $75 fee in the mail to your new home address. So you can get everybody on board, and it won't be the big bad guys collecting $75 fees. However, there will be a mail out. There'll be a massive social media campaign. I know all LR events we're going to get it out to everybody. And basically, we have a different renewal period that will have you renewing by the end of September, and then education done by the end of the year. But again, I don't want to get into too much of the specifics on it because there will be a big major push for getting everybody on board with that. So, and it will help with Cindy as well with insurance and not having lapses and after work affidavits where we get agents to sign saying they didn't work, and of course they did, and that's always a problem. So look for that coming soon. I hate to say coming soon, but it is. And again, I don't want to get too far down the road now, but you will see that coming out first week of April.
All right. And do you want to share the announcement?
Oh, yeah, big announcement, and Eloise is on as well. We were informed by Bruce Eubanks, our executive director, that he would be retiring at the end of April. And we wisely and quickly hired our deputy director, Summer Meir, as our new executive director, starting upon Bruce's retirement, which I believe is April 29th, Eloise. I'm not sure. I think this was the date.
Well, he's got some vacation dates, so he wasn't sure exactly what date it will be.
So Bruce is going to lay on her leg as much as possible, and then finally we'll get Summer in there once she can take over. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. You know, I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. No,
Well,
seriously.
she'll be in charge when he's on vacation anyway, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly right. Yeah, right. So Summer is our new executive director, very capable, very knowledgeable. She's been there forever. She's been through two other executive directors, both JC and Bruce. And we're glad to have her on. And I think we unanimously approved, and that was an easy decision within. So anyway, look forward for some good things from her and continued support and good things happen at the commission with Summer at the helm. So that's it.
Does anybody have questions for Rick? I'm not.
Anybody's in the quarter wants to join me for a drink, you head over to the bar around the corner here once we finish. So
Not seeing anything in chat, so thank you for that, Rick. And we're gonna let our fearless leader, Norman Morris, who's the CEO of Louisiana Realtors, come on and give us an overview of session and tease our May meetings a little bit. So Norman, it's up to you now.
Thank you, Rhonda, for that great introduction. It's great to see everyone. And, you know, we want to be able to provide all brokers in Louisiana with the latest and greatest education, technology, opportunities, trends that may be coming down the pike that it will help you run a better business, but also your agents to be more successful. And I want to talk to you today about a lot of topics, but I'm going to go quick, and you certainly can call me, email me, or text me after. But as everyone probably saw last week, we're watching very carefully what the Federal Reserve is doing. They raised rates for the first time in some long time, ratcheted up 0.25%, 0.25 last week, which ultimately kicked the mortgage rates for the first time over 4%. It's something we're watching because the feds have said there may be an attempt to raise them 4 or 5 more times this year to combat what everybody sees today and is going through, and that's the word inflation. Everything costs more for a lot of reasons, but they're doing that to be able to rein in the inflation issue. There's a lot of other issues involved with that. Obviously, the war in Ukraine does not help. The supply chain issues and everything else are hindering this process. We're hopeful that policies that can be made in Washington will tackle and get the inflation rate under control, because that will signal to the feds that they won't have to raise these rates. Now, when your agents are talking about interest rates, when they raised the rates last week, the 0.25%, that's not the interest rate raised. That basically, when they raise the rates, that says to banks that it's going to cost the banks more money to borrow. It costs them every time they borrow money, and when the rates go up, it costs them more money. The interest rate is tied to the 10-year Treasury bond. And when ultimately it's a trickle-down effect, so when the Treasury bond ultimately gets the word that the feds have cost banks more to raise money, then it inches up. So you need to be clear on that, that when you hear this on the news, the feds have raised interest rates, that's not technically the mortgage interest rates that are rising. So we're going to watch that. You need to bookmark this in your computers, larealtors.org. It's Louisiana Realtors website. On the front page of that website, you can't miss it. You see by the numbers right there next to 4 realtors. Every month around the 15th or so of the month, Louisiana Realtors will be putting out statewide real estate trends broken down statewide, or brokers can go on in their agents and look at individual markets throughout the state. We also do it by congressional district, which gives you the ability to see what new listings are happening, pending sales, closed sales, obviously average and median sales price, housing affordability, and everything else that you can see to give you an idea of what's happening, not necessarily in your backyard, but also around the state. I don't need to tell all the brokers on this call, you know, it's a market in which when properties are available to be sold, they go quickly, and there's many offers and sometimes overpriced offers. But obviously the issue we're dealing with, and not only in Louisiana, but around the country, is lack of inventory. It's amazing to see, obviously, with supply and demand, just looking at this time last year to today, the average sales price in the state of Louisiana has gone from about $250,000 to almost $274,000. What a better time for buyers to purchase. If you'd have purchased 10 years ago, look how much wealth you would have built along that way in just 10 small years. There's no other investment better as it relates to building wealth, than buying a home or a commercial property. So it's a great time if we can just get the inventory levels up. Changing subjects now, the legislature is in session for the next 85 days, and they will be covering a lot of issues and a lot of them affect your business. We're heavily involved in the legislative session to ensure all real estate issues turn out on the right end of the spectrum for you as a broker owner and for all licensees and every other aspect of the real estate industry for those that participate, from appraisals to all the affiliates that you deal with. We're going to be dealing with bills that will set tones for how property insurance is structured in Louisiana. There's real estate licensing bills. I can tell you there's groups out there that don't want to see any professions regulated whatsoever. They want the wild, wild west. They want doctors not to have a license, real estate professionals not to have a license, engineers not to have a license, and so forth and so on. So we're having to fight back on those bills. We're going to be heavily involved in homeowners association bills. Obviously, there are subdivisions that rely on strong and good homeowners association covenants to keep the property values up. But obviously, there's been some instances around the state where homeowner boards have gone overboard and have not acted in good faith. And so there's got to be a balance on this, so where the homeowners and that property owner is treated fairly, but also we can't throw everything out the window and eliminate homeowners association covenants and restrictions moving forward. We'll be dealing a lot with landlord tenant issues to make sure that landlords obviously are protected, but strike a balance to make sure that it's fair too for the renters, because we want to make it to where they can get into the properties that our members either manage or their clients own for investment income. There'll be a couple of appraiser bills we'll be dealing with. They're looking at a process to try to get more appraisers into the industry. As you know, right now, in order for an appraisal to get his or her license, they have to not only do a lot of education, which is good, but they have to have a certified appraiser sign off on their work. And that's becoming more and more challenging, not only in Louisiana, but in those states that require that kind of a mechanism to become licensed. So we're looking at some ways that would still be a strong education background and training, but to hopefully bring some younger appraisers into the fold. So, because as you know, that industry is growing. Obviously out there, they did a study, and the age study is about in the 50s, 55 arena for appraisers. And the lack of young ones and individuals wanting to get into business is certainly going to cause a problem if we don't do something about it now into the future. Again, we're going to put out each week a synopsis of things that are going on at the legislative arena. Two of the issues that the Real Estate Commission will be working on this year, which we're supportive of, is they will be looking at doing fingerprinting for not only all new licensees. It does not go back on anyone that was licensed as a licensee prior to the date of effective of this act, but it will require if a licensee in the future becomes a broker and gets a broker's license, it will require that individual, because they would be a new broker and a new broker license at that point, to be fingerprinted. And I don't know if any of y'all have occurred in your markets where individuals are going out and selling the interest in contracts called wholesaling. They're actually representing, we believe, a client, and instead of selling the property, they are approaching, in many cases, vulnerable people that need to sell their home for whatever vulnerable reason, or the elderly, and they are convincing them to sign a contract with the interest of the contract only, and not necessarily the actual property, as many of your agents do today. All we're saying is that you can continue to do this practice, but if you do that and you're under the form of wholesaling, as we just kind of outlined that I did, you're going to have to be licensed by the Louisiana Real Estate Commission. Because at that point, if a client is harmed, there's avenues that can be done by the commission to take care of that unscrupulous actor that if they did something wrong to the consumer, or obviously with the Real Estate Recovery Fund being a licensee at that point. So those are two of the bills that we'll be supporting at the Real Estate Commission level. Federally, just real briefly, and I know it's a sore topic. We continue to try to do everything we can every day, but it was federally enacted under our congressman's total fight against this, and that's risk rating 2.0. It continues to be a problem, particularly in the southeast, south part of the state, as you get closer to the coast where bodies of water are significant. We're seeing cases in other parts of the state where premiums with the new rating system by FEMA are staying the same or even reducing in certain areas. But if you have any stories, and what I mean is if you can get a hold of a copy of a current client's policy, which may be $600-700, say, and their new quote is going to be $6,000-7,000 or even $2,000, please send that to us here at Louisiana Realtors, because we want to be able to send that to our congressional delegation so they can make a case that this rating system, in some cases, will render that property unsellable, because if you can't afford the flood insurance premium and the banks require you to have that coverage with the mortgage, which most of our fishermen, plant workers, and other people that live down towards the coast and towards the water, they're not living on a beach and enjoying the weekend or the week at a beachfront property. That's their home. That's where they've lived in. So we need that to keep pushing Congress to try to figure out a better system in those areas where rates are significantly increasing. So we encourage you to do that, but it's still an issue. The flood insurance program was extended with this last action of Congress 2 weeks ago till into September of this year. So that is somewhat of a better than a 1 or 2 month extension, but it's not what we really want. And that's a 5-year extension where we don't have to keep going back and worrying about whether flood insurance will be available. A couple last items I want to discuss with you are, and I'm sure you read on Inman and other places, is that there's several lawsuits going on. Two of them, one in Missouri and one in Illinois. It's trying to be a class action lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors as it relates to how commissions are paid, particularly as it relates to buyer agents on those two suits. But the one I really want to turn your attention to, which is not the same type suit, but it's similarly related, and that's the Department of Justice has brought legal action against the National Association of Realtors as it relates to buyers agents practices and the transparency and disclosure of commissions from that side of the transaction. The National Realtors about 4 months ago agreed into a settlement agreement with the Department of Justice, which NAR thought they had a deal. And those basically parameters would have said that brokers would have had to display on their websites the commissions that were going to be paid to the buyer's broker. The second item that was agreed upon in that agreement that the parties had agreed to were that buyer's agents couldn't go and disclose if they were working for no fee or working for free. And the last thing was that they were going to have to allow non-MLS participants access to the lockbox system if the seller agreed to that on that lockbox at that home. Now, with that being said, at the last hour, about 2 months ago, the Department of Justice backed out of that agreement, which is unprecedented for the DOJ. They've never backed out of an agreement over the history on anything that they've entered into on any industry. So we're back in the legal position we were before the agreement was rendered. So with that being said, I want to end on our legislative meetings, because a lot of this, I want to tell you what we're trying to do. We think every broker and every agent ought to attend these meetings, because this meeting in Baton Rouge, while it's geared for legislative, which we have a large component geared for us, to be going out, talking to the legislators on those key issues that are great for the industry, and we like to see them pass because they're good for you, they're good for clients. We also want to talk to them about those negative issues that we think are bad for the industry, bad for clients and customers. So we have a whole lot of great information on the legislative front and the PAC front. But one of the things we're doing to keep you abreast of things that are coming down the pike, I just mentioned these lawsuits. I believe that there's going to be some changes in the next several years, and I don't know what year that'll be based on not only these lawsuits, but everything else that is going on in the industry. Some changes in the way buyer's agents work within the scope of what they do today, meaning are buyer's agents going to be mandated to use buyer's broker agreements, or should they be, encouraged like they are in other states? Or what's going to be the landscape for them working with listing agents back and forth, and is that going to change? So we're bringing in Lynn Madison, who's actually a practicing broker, educator, and agent, to talk about those issues with the backdrop of what's going on at the national level with these suits on disclosing it, earning it, and keeping it. Also going to talk to you about best practices for what you should look out for and use when you're using buyer brokerage agents, the benefits of using those documents on a buyer side. So we think that's a bonus plus for 3-hour CE credit as well. but it takes you back home to be prepared for those future things that may be coming down the pipe. We also, on the next morning, before we kick off our Realtor Day, how many of you raise, you can raise your hand or chime in, know someone that has been FISed, their information at their company, their personal financials, or their client's financials has been compromised, or even a client that has wired money at a closing to go to the title agent that's been stolen by someone who's hacked into their system. And once that money's gone, even the FBI many times cannot get that money back. We have a dynamic speaker coming the next morning who is an expert in this area, who I will tell you, he's not just a professor standing up in front of the room. He's very dynamic, knows what he's talking about, and he's going to give you tips for your company, for your personal financials, as well as tips you can give your clients for protecting that financial information that's out there, or the financial assets that you, your company, or your clients have, and how to protect those from these unscrupulous people that are hacking into all these systems all over the United States. Then we'll go to the Capitol, or we'll have an update on Risk Rating 2.0 for those that want to learn more about that, and some other guest speakers as well. And I want to close with this. I want to make you aware of some 3 critical services that we provide here at Louisiana Realtors. If you're a broker and you have an issue that comes up that you need just general legal guidance on, we have a broker hotline that you can go on our website right here, and it's all electronic. You fill out your name, your address, your number, what's the question. You don't have to put people's names in it. Let us know what the priority is in getting it back, and we will usually have you an answer back in 48 hours. One of your agents can come to you with a problem. Now, what we don't do, we don't get into your specific transactions or legal cases to try to defend you there, but we will give you great legal advice on how to proceed forward based on what the law rules or other cases that have been out there that have been on that subject matter. Second item I think Amy had up on the screen before is the technology hotline. If your agents are out in the field, or you're out in the field and they have trouble with their phone, any technology piece that your agent uses, or if they want to know, I have this type of a computer, I'm thinking about going to this type of phone or this app or this, can you give me some advice on whether that works? If you call this number, we'll send all this to you when we send the other information from Cindy's and Rick's report. If you call them Monday through Saturday, you'll get a live operator come on and solve your problem right then. If you allow them, they'll log into your computer, fix a virus, or do anything to get your computer or your systems back up and running. Hopefully this will save you money at your brokerage, so you don't have to call your own computer techs, which charge you a lot of money to get things fixed. So this is a service through your dues that we encourage you to use. So I want to highlight those 2 today, and on the next call, we'll highlight a few more, but take advantage. Louisiana Realtors is here for all of the brokers in the state of Louisiana to make you better as a business owner, but also to make your agents more profitable and more successful as they navigate through this process representing clients all over the state of Louisiana. So with that, Rhonda, I'll stop, answer any questions or anybody has via email or on live here on the call. And certainly you can call me after the meeting as well, 225-229-8538. So if anybody does not have my number, it's 225-229-8538.
Well, I don't see anything in the chat other than Amy just posted your number. We do want input from you guys, so please send us topics that you'd like to see covered. And again, I encourage everybody to come in May, at least take that Monday class, because it's an important class. Stay over, stay with us, go to the LARPAC event. We want brokers to be involved in LARPAC. We know it's an important thing. It helps us fight at the federal and the state level both. And when your agents see you participating, they participate as well. We want you to know that from the LR perspective, we are your behind the scene partner. We're trying to help you manage risk and offer some free services to you that are paid for with your membership dues. So we want you to have, we want you to feel like you're getting value for those dues We want you engaged and we want your input. And if you're an SRS or a CRB member, you can actually go take a teaser, the 1 hour webinar that Lynn did on the business of your business and compensation, and get ready for the full 3 hour class that she's going to do for us in May. There's a lot of good information in it. She does an excellent job presenting the conversations we need to be having around compensation and commission. Eloise, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, I just want to tell you, thank you for you and Amy again for putting this together. This is great information, guys. I appreciate it.
Please send us feedback on what you would like to see too. If there's a question or you want us to invite somebody to the table, we want to try to always have a focus on the real estate license, the Louisiana Real Estate Commission. We want to be able to do legal features or risk management features. Certainly look for risk rating 2.0, both in your area. But if you want your agents to get informed on the new methodology, we're doing 2 separate sessions that are virtual throughout April. Anytime you have questions, please contact us. I'm telling you, Norman gives his cell phone to everybody and he answers, and he will
does.
call you back. So he loves taking those phone calls, and he will find somebody to get an answer to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yep, we hit 4:06, so we kept you for about an hour. If there's another time that you guys think worked better, kind of let us know, and we'll see what we can do about making this a true cocktail hour later in the year. So thank you.
Everyone,
We
thank you.
hope to see you all in May.